in the purchase cycle, how much of an importance does wish list still play compared to like maybe other methods?
Yeah, wish lists are still really big for users. Now, what happens with, and I saw it all the time. So I actually did two studies. One, the first one, it was on a random like day that we did it. We did the study, and they would just wish list a bunch of games.
Yep.
And so what they do is they go through the discoverability queue. I did not realize how important that is, but they go through discoverability queue a lot, and they'll go through that. And if they like a game in that discovery queue, they'll hit the wish list button and move on. They don't unless a sale is active, they don't buy games.
Right.
And that was the thing is I did my first study not during a sale. It was just a random day. And so nobody bought anything. They just wish listed it. And then when a big sale comes up, they flip their buyer mode on. And that's why I did my follow-up study during the Halloween sale.
Yep.
And they're going to get an email with like 30 games are on sale. And then they go in and they go to their wish list. They sometimes look at the sales page for the Halloween sale, featured image. But then they go back through their wish list. They sort the page based on percentage. And they look at the highest percentage off and they reevaluate it. Now, one thing I saw about wish list, a lot of people saw games on their wish list that they had no idea. They're like, I don't even remember this game.
Yep.
So your wish list is just like you think that when somebody wish lists their game, they wish for it.
Yep.
They're just pining for it. Every night they go to bed like, oh, I wish I had that game. They don't. They sometimes if you're a really big game, but come on, let's be honest. We're indies here. Right. They don't necessarily love our game and think about it every day. They'll come back to it after a sale and say, what the heck is this game? And it's almost like you're looking at it again for the first time. So wish lists are very important. Now, to your question about this wish list change, I got affected by it too. The way Steam surfaces games changed. And so people don't get wish listed as much as they used to.
Right. Yeah.
And I saw that a lot on my thing was because I was doing all these within a week, all these people I was testing with, I ended up testing about 15 people. I would see the same games over and over again featured on the Steam page. And that's the main thing is that Steam has directed the spotlight much differently as to which games. And so I think that might be why some of your clients and why my clients and I also don't see as much wish listing is because they're just not spreading that wish list love across as many people.
Okay. I mean, definitely good to know. And a lot of things to, take into consideration there in terms of, okay, well, more so of just kind of better understanding that climate now. And, the fact that we just, unfortunately, I mean, we never really had too much control really with the Steam pages other than, like you said before, like listing out that content and other factors. But now it seems like there's just even a little, but you got something for that to an extent. And while there's only so much you can test on a content perspective, there's still a lot of less out of our control. So I want to kind of like change gears a little bit and talk more about how can we better influence users' purchase behavior, and not just purchase behavior, but ultimately influence how a user as a whole behaves. How do we engage them better, and how do we end up getting that into a purchase? So I guess just to kick this discussion off, what are some common practices you see that don't seem to account for or help influence a user's purchasing process?
Yeah, absolutely. This is kind of one weird thing that I discovered in this Steam research was they really don't watch your trailer on Steam, which is shocking.
Yeah, exactly.
You think Steam, that's like the first thing in the little tab of all the little pictures and all that stuff is this trailer. And why the reason they don't is because everybody puts like the logo of their studio, then they do a big cinematic and these like mysterious words that appear that like in a world where magic is love or whatever, they hate that. Again, remember how I said that everybody, when they get to your Steam page, they just want to see what genre it is. And when you do a trailer that has got all that junk and I'm using that nicely, all that stuff in front of the gameplay, they can't determine what genre it is. Because, So what they want to see is gameplay. They want to see like, okay, am I third person? Am I first person? Am I the person holding the gun? Am I like using an RTS where I'm directing the person with the gun? Or am I like, is it a storybook game? They're looking for clues as to what type of genre you have. And that's what they're looking for. And because our trailers are so loaded up with this stuff, they've learned not to care about that. So what they actually do is they'll either skip the trailer entirely and just go to the images because they can just click through the images a lot faster. And what they're looking for in those images are really clear indications of pictures that look like other genres they know. So if it's like an RTS, you better have a sky view of all your characters that looks like an RTS. Or if you're a crafting game, you better have a nice menu that looks like a crafting menu. And that it's those clues that they're looking for.
Okay.
Now, sometimes they do watch the trailer, but when they watch it, they hover their mouse over the timeline, the little scrub bar, and they're clicking through the timeline. So they're basically just making animated screenshots of your trailer. So if I could advise you guys out there making trailers for Steam, now YouTube is a whole nother story.
You're right. Yeah.
But for Steam, gameplay. Be sure, absolutely clear what type of game you are making in your trailer. It should just be solid content, no intro text, none of that, no logos, no studio, anything. Just dive right into it. Imagine it as a moving screenshot. So that's kind of how you should really treat your video on Steam, and only have one. I see people that do like 4 or 5. People click through it. They'll watch one video, and if it doesn't capture them, they're going to try and get to the screenshot. So really, I'll have one video up there. Other minor thing that I saw was like awards. We think, oh God, I don't have any of those like little laurel leaves that say like best game of whatever, or featured indie, stage this or that. They don't even care about that stuff. They literally just glance over it. And I literally stopped some people and said, hey, what do you think about that stuff on the right?
Yep.
And they said, oh, well, good for them. But that doesn't tell me what it doesn't tell them what type of game it is, which is all they care about. Yep. 2, they're like, I don't care. These are like weird indie festivals. I don't care about those. So, and that's not to say like if you got it, if you earned that, if you got featured on a thing, great, put it on there. But I'm saying don't feel bad if you don't have that, because it doesn't matter to the consumer.
Okay. No, that's really good insight to know. So, after we started getting this, like, a better understanding of what this behavior is like and everything, especially knowing, like, let's say genre, for example, but even those other things that you just shared with us in terms of, what's helping them make their decisions and stuff, how can this information be leveraged to develop marketing strategies that allow devs to better influence a user's decision?
Yeah. So really what you got to understand is when they wishlist your game, like if your audience isn't aware of the funnel, marketing funnel is the fundamental you got to understand when marketing your games. Yep. Before they know about your game, they're out of the funnel. And then once they first see your game, they're in the top of the funnel, which means they just barely know about you. And then every stage in your marketing should be trying to push people further down the funnel. So the very bottom of the funnel is they buy your game.
Yep.
Well, when it's wishlisting or clicking through, they're just top of the funnel, barely there. How I remember I said that sometimes you go back and they look at your game on a sale and they see your game in the wish list and they're like, what kind of game was this again? I don't even remember this.
Right.
That's a sign that your funnel wasn't correctly built because they wish listed, but they didn't have that follow up. And you should be constantly kind of reminding your audience who's wish listed it, what your game is and what the progress is. And so you should be, Steam offers tools where you can do announcements and alerts and stuff like that if they've wish listed your game. But the other thing you should be really doing, and this to your point about what we do about wish listing, when the algorithm changes, you should be getting them off of Steam as well. So make them join your mailing list. I still think mailing lists are the most important thing that we should be doing. Don't get them on social media. Social media can also be sabotaged by algorithm changes and all kinds of things.
Right,
so the most important thing is get them off of Steam and onto your mailing list. And you can do things like have an alert, an announcement that you're giving some giveaway on your mailing list. And on Steam's alert page, you say, hey, to get the giveaway, click here and sign up for my mailing list. So again, figure out ways to get them off of Steam and keep front of mind so that when that sale does happen, because let's not kid ourselves, they only buy games on sale.
Right.
When your sale does happen, they know who you are, they've warmed up to you, they've worked their way down the funnel, and then you can make that sell.
All right, cool. Now, I want to digress real quick because I know in the past on the podcast, we've talked about like, the pros and cons to discounting your game. And I really don't want to go too much on a tangent here, but from what you're saying, what you've been finding, it seems like, because I know there's two fields of thought on discounting a game in particular, but what are your overall thoughts? I mean, it sounds like discounts are still a significant factor in what influences user behavior. Is that...
Absolutely. That's really how they hear about your game on Steam. Like once they've wishlisted it, it's sales. I recently wrote a blog post about how JCPenney kind of, if you're familiar with, if you're in the US, JCPenney is like this mid-market kind of like clothing retailer, like department store. Yep. And they just are always got a sale on. Now, the way they do that is they've actually increased their prices secretly, and then they discount it to what the price should be. And so it looks like it's always on sale. Now, I know that might sound weird to people, but really people only buy games when they're on sale. That's just and there's nothing we can do about it because that's just the market that Steam has cultivated. That's just the behavior that they've done.
And probably even culturally too, right? Like even outside of just Steam, just how people buy stuff in general.
Yep. I heard a lot of Humble Bundle. I talked to a lot of these people and they'd say, oh yeah, I got that game on Humble Bundle, which also has that discount mentality. Now you can use that there's strategies knowing that. Like you could have one thing that I'm doing is I'm having I build a big catalog of games. I'm releasing lots of games and I have a couple games that I'm always putting on sale and they're the top of the funnel games. So when they're always on sale, people will buy them. And then I have more expensive games that don't go on sale as much, but it's those two games kind of work in concert together to get people onto buying my more expensive games. Now, and I totally understand, like, if you discount your game as much, you're not making as much money. So increase the price of your game. Understand that when you discount bigger to kind of get that level. But there's just no going into that. Now, there's like supply-demand curves that you could calculate. And I don't know that calculation where it's like, okay, well, how much should I discount? How frequently should I do it? But just understand that when your game goes on sale, the people get an email from Steam that says this game is on sale. And they also sort games based on how the sales price is. So really the only way to get your game repeatedly in front of your audience is by discounting it. And a couple of the people I talk to when I look at their wish list and they say, oh yeah, I know that game. I see it all the time because that game is always on sale. And some people might say like, there's a fear of missing out where it's like, oh, well, they don't feel like this is a once in a lifetime chance to get it at this price. But on the other hand, they were very familiar about that game. Like, how I mentioned, sometimes people see a game on sale and like, what was that game again? It was on my wish list.
Right. Yep.
But other games did not have that problem. They were always on sale. They're like, oh yeah, I know that game because it's always on sale. I haven't bought it yet. I will eventually. It's just, I'm familiar with it. So they reassess your game every time it goes on sale. So you just have to know the culture of the store. And unfortunately, sales are a big, big part of that.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So key takeaway right there, guys, is know the culture on who you're dealing with and such. So, all right, so let's bring it back to email marketing. Now, I also want to be mindful of where some of our listeners may be. Some people might be getting ready to launch, and some people are in development. But in either case, we clearly identified that email marketing is probably one of the most effective ways to kind of influence whether it's short or long term a user's purchase behavior. Now, can you explain why overall this tends to be the case? You provided some examples earlier, but what are some other ones, or why do you think this email marketing is still so effective?
Because it works. I mean, I don't even care. I wouldn't even care what it is. I just want, whatever I send out something, I want the most people to click on it. That's really all I care about, okay. In the end. And with email, there's a lot of magic factors about it. But if somebody's on your email list, they are more likely to click your link when you say, my game is now on sale. I just launched it. The highest percentage of clicks are going to come through email. For some reason, social media, people just do not click as much. There's several factors for that.
Yep.
I think part of it is it's just a party mentality. When you're in social media, you're just trying to hang out with your friends, talk to people, be cool.
Oh, go like this. I like it.
Yeah. But when you're actually saying go buy something, email is for business. Like your credit card bill comes through email. Your bills come through email. So when people are in their email, they're thinking business and money and spending on stuff. And so there's just a different culture to the platform of email. And I think that goes a long way. So I've tried this. I know Discord is the hot thing. Everybody talks about Discord. I've tested this with my clients. Email still, old boring email still kills it, twice as effective as a Discord. So what I did was I did a test where on Discord, we said, hey, this game is launched. Go click, go check it out on Discord. And at the exact same time, we sent out an email that said, hey, this game is launched. Go click this. And Discord was half as effective as email.
Okay, cool. I mean, that's super insightful and stuff. And just real quick, if you can explain, some people might be like, hey, I don't know where to begin with setting up an email list, or how do you even get an email list? I would say, I'll preface this for you. So people are going to be, most likely you need somewhere for people to sign up for your email. I would assume that would be either on a website or some type of landing page in which people can put their information. But what are some incentives to help people just sign up? Because part of the question people probably have is like, well, who really wants my email? So then clearly you want to incentivize it. So what type of things can indie devs use to incentivize and building